What is up, Rookie HQ? Welcome to the latest episode of Blue Chips. I am your host, the incredible one, the authentic one, Mr. Matty Kiwoom. And today I got a very interesting show for each and every one of you. If you're new to Rookie HQ, make sure you're subscribed to the Rookie HQ channel. Of course, we're presented by Player Profiler, so subscribe. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment, do all the good YouTubing to make sure that these numbers go up, and how we're supposed to. Gonna be golden. Again, sorry. Too early to go off track. Too early. But if you're new here, again, thank you. Subscribe to all that good stuff. But Blue Chips is where we talk about all the prospects that are playing on Saturdays that we will eventually see suit up on Sundays. Big Board 2.0 is out. You can get that at playerprofiler.com. But that's not what we're talking about today. Today, I have 10 players that you must know as the draft season unfolds. So we have 6 offensive players, 4 on the defensive side of the line of scrimmage. And for all you Player Profiler fans and fantasy heads alike, we got 3 fantasy football relevant guys. So you're going to want to stick around as I get through all of them. And last but not least, I just have to say, I did tease it a minute ago, but go to the Big Board 2.0 over at playerprofiler.com. We'll put the link in the description. Okay, this big board is out now. It'll update with every big news item that drops, any declaration that happens, who's staying, who's going. The big board will change in real time, and then we'll have massive updates after I'm down in Mobile, after the combine concludes, so on and so forth. And speaking of the current version of the big board that you can get at playerprofiler.com, 9 of the 10 players are in the top 75. So if you want to do a little bit of digging on your own, you can. Over at playerprofiler.com. I do have a bonus one. Someone who's off the record, but someone that I don't know if I'm excited quite yet, but is somebody that I am very much ready to talk about with each and every one of you. So without further ado, let's get into it. First player that I am going to bring up, the players that you must know as we get into the thick of the NFL draft season. First guy on the list, Simpson, quarterback from Alabama. Currently, he is QB2 or 3. Right now, he's QB3 on my board, but if Dante Moore declares, Dante, what are you waiting for? We need to know. I got a mock draft ready to drop that I got to know if you're going to be in it or not. Anywho, Simpson. He is right now QB2. He will drop to QB3 once I get the official declaration from Dante Moore. Either way, he is a top 10 player currently on my big board. 6'2", 208 pounds. This past year, he threw for 3,500 yards, over 20 touchdowns, 28 to be exact, to 5 interceptions. Had a 64.6% completion percentage. Not a great number, but that adjusted number, when you kind of factor in some of the analytical metrics, it does come up quite a bit, over 75%. So not the most accurate of passer, according to statistics, but a guy I think when you watch on film does have the tools that could, develop into a very accurate player. So let's get into Simpson. He shows professional poise, which is huge if he's going to be, a professional at the NFL. He's got natural touch, especially when he's throwing in the short and intermediate range. He can really tear it up kind of in those short to intermediate passes. He's got good contact release, quick release. I don't really have much issue with that. His deep passes are inconsistent, I would say, but there are certainly some on tape that makes you go, whoa, oh my Lanta. Like, he's got the arm, and again, the release, the poise, the touch, it's there. It can develop, but the deep ball isn't as good as some of the others in the class. He's got solid athleticism. I think he's going to test pretty well in the combine. QBs don't really run nowadays, but it is pro day and what have you. I think we'll see a lot of the athletic measurables be pretty good for Simpson. It's clear on tape that he's got that athleticism. But despite having, the requisite athleticism to play at the NFL, his pocket discipline, it can waver a bit, especially when pressure is coming in. And when that pressure comes up the middle specifically, it can kind of get that pocket movement, that discipline, the things we're looking for while in the pocket to kind of get off kilter, I would say, which leads to him drifting, maybe a little bit of loss in mechanics. But when he can stay in the pocket, stay comfortable, use that discipline, kind of use the mobility to stay upright, stay square and make a throw, we see a lot downfield. We, of course, see good accurate, good timing in the intermediate routes. In my comp range, if you're new to A Rookie HQ and new to my process, this early in the draft season, I do like to give a range. Maybe someone that's a little bit more of a floor guy, a little bit more of a ceiling guy, and we'll see as the athletics turn in, the draft capital turns in, and I can really kind of pinpoint that comp. And if you're here from Player Profiler, you know we like comps. In my comp here on the low end, Case Keenum to Dak Prescott would be my current comp range. But if you want an overall kind of archetype, what I see, and I've talked about this with my guy Cody Carpentier a ton, so he'll know exactly what I mean. It's that Alex Smith archetype. I consistently like to chase those players because even if they are a little deficient in terms of the physical tools, a.k.a. a Bo Nix, well, we've seen what Mr. Nix has done at the NFL level so far. So I like Ty Simpson. As of right now, definitely has a round 1 grade. I think he will be taken as early as QB2 off the board, which in this draft could be as high as the number 2 overall pick, right? So the sky is the limit for Ty Simpson. The next player that I'm going to talk about is Chris Johnson, the cornerback from San Diego State. So a little bit more of an unknown guy, but I think one, if you're in the draft world, you kind of have your ear to the ground when it comes to the draft. He's on your radar, but if you're kind of getting into it now, he may not be. As of right now, he is my cornerback 3 in my big board, top 25 player. He's got the length. He's 6 feet, 195. That's that Sauce Gardner type body type, and it shows. When you look at some of the analytics, it's tough really to gauge exactly what a cornerback looks like just by using, PFF or other analytical metrics. So I'm not going to dive into a ton of those. If you want to do some research on your own, of course they kind of pop. They go into San Diego State. So the competition was great. So there's a lot to be excited about there. But I want to talk about what I see as opposed to what I've kind of read when it comes to his analytical profile. This is, like I said, a player with some length. He knows how to use those long arms to disrupt timing, especially on boundary throws. On film, you can clearly see that when he's attacking the boundaries, or I guess protecting the boundaries, it comes to it falls in his favor more often than it doesn't. He's a physical corner that will challenge receivers at the catch point. He gets his nose dirty in the run game, but I would say he has to work on being a little less handsy. Hey, yo! Just kidding. But yeah, seriously, he does get himself in a little bit of trouble using the mitts, grabbing a little bit, which obviously will be a tough thing as he adjusts to the NFL because they're a little bit bigger, a little bit faster over when they play on Sundays. But this guy, despite good length, good aggression, does a lot of the dirty work. High IQ player. Love high IQ players, especially at cornerback. I don't know if he really has elite speed when it comes to recovery, but he's got enough. He's definitely athletic. I'm excited to see kind of how he tests. I do believe he will be at the Senior Bowl in Mobile. He has already accepted his invite, so that'll be pretty exciting. And I would say watching him at San Diego State, he looks comfortable when you put him out on an island. But the competition, of course, has to be brought up. Playing at San Diego State, he's not playing, against the best wide receivers in all the land. So that'll be a massive question surrounding Johnson, as he heads down to Mobile. But that'll also be a place where he can really kind of show off, go up against better receivers, go up against the guys. I mean, hell, he'll have a chance maybe to even get reps against a guy like Elijah Surratt, who's playing in the national championship game, big body receiver, someone I talked about last week. And of course, if you missed last week's inaugural episode here on Rookie HQ, go check it out, because just because it's a week old, it doesn't mean the information is dated. Go check out the big board updates before you go check out the big board on PlayerProfile.com. And my comp range for Mr. Chris Johnson as of right now is Carlton Davis, all the way to Marshawn Lattimore. Now, I know if you were a Commanders fan, you're saying to yourself, I don't want no stinking Marshawn Lattimore player on my team. Fair. He's been bad there, but I'm talking about the prospect profile, the style, the play type, what his ceiling is. Marshawn Lattimore was a very good player in the NFL for a very long time, and that could definitely be Chris Johnson. The third player that I would like to talk about, plays that you must know, plays over at the University of Washington, wide receiver, Mr. Denzel Boston. So last week I talked about Surratt, who is one of my favorite receivers. Here is another one of my favorites, Denzel Boston from Washington. As of right now, he is my wide receiver 4 and a top 25 player overall. As of this recording, there hasn't been a declaration, a confirmed declaration, so we do not know for certain he will be in the 2026 draft class, but as of right now, I am anticipating that he will be. And given his potential to go round 1, I think there's a high likelihood that he does declare. Big body receiver, just like Surratt, 6'4", 210 pounds. This past year, 800 receiving yards, 11 tutties. He had a 2.44 yards per route run, 14.4 ADOT, so you know he could take the top off the ball. And this is a kid that when you throw it up in a contested catch situation, he comes down with it. 77% contested catch rate. Now, what do I see on film? This kid doesn't get knocked around. When he is running his routes, you don't see it often. You don't see the hand fighting. You don't see the bump and run. You don't see those types of interactions with defensive backs throwing him off course. He's a big-bodied receiver, and he knows definitely how to utilize that when he's trying to beat the opposing defense. He's a reliable target in traffic and in contested catch situations. As I mentioned, the contested catch numbers. Maybe I need to rename that because I can't say it. CTC rate. Do I sound smarter if I say that? I think it does. Anyway, leave in the comments. Am I smarter if I use C2C rate? So, C2C rate, again, good numbers, shows off his ability to catch the ball in traffic, catch the ball when contested. I am very excited to see his testing because, like, his yak numbers, his downfield metrics, they're pretty good. But when I watch him, I don't know if he's going to possess that deep speed. This isn't a style comp, just kind of a anecdotal story that may apply. When I was down in Indianapolis for the combine a couple of years ago, A.D. Mitchell from Texas, taller kid, was used in kind of a downfield attacking way at Texas. We weren't sure exactly what the speed would look like. Well, it was pretty good, real fast. Same with Brian Thomas. Sometimes these guys can improve their 40 time. They can work through the offseason to be better at that specific thing. And so I'm excited to see what it looks like. How does that translate? Because on camera, on film, on the All-22, I just don't know if I see that burner speed again, but I didn't necessarily always see it with other guys who tested well. So I'm very excited to see how that plays. He does show good awareness, especially when he's attacking the sideline. But that might not play in the NFL if he cannot, create a little bit more separation, can't be a little bit more effective shaking defenders. It just becomes a higher skilled catch and a lesser probability catch at the NFL. It would be really exciting to see Denzel Boston line up against Chris Johnson a little bit. I think that'd be a nice little, let's see, it's someone who's really good at attacking the boundary versus really good someone protecting the boundary. Let's see kind of how that plays out. But Denzel Boston's a player very, very excited about. I think he can win at the NFL level. Got him in the round 1 range. Think he could be as high as a 4th receiver off the board. And my comp range for him is a wide one. But the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I don't give a rip that it's a bit wild. But I think his range could be from Mac Hollins to Cortland Sutton. Now that might seem huge but if I bring a little more context, I'm talking about more of the Mac Hollins as he emerged over these last 2 or 3 years. So basically a guy that can attack deep, be on an NFL roster, make teams, get contracts, be around, but maybe not necessarily be utilized as a top dog, given the skill set, or he can, or he is. And he is that guy that can be that can attack and can be given the ball 6-7 times a game like Cortland Sutton. So those are my top 3. I have 7 more players. That's right, 7 more players that you must know as we head into the NFL draft. But before we do all that, let's hear from today's sponsor.
If you play in Dynasty, you need Dynasty Deluxe, our premium package for Dynasty Leaguers. We rank over 300 players, updated every week, all year long. And there's a win now mode and a rebuild mode with Superflex and tight end premium controls. And a Dynasty League sync where you can say, sync down all of my sleeper teams, all my FFPC teams. And then you can browse around your leagues for who has needs. And then you can use our trade finder to see what kinds of trades are happening in leagues that are similar to the one I want to do. Then you can analyze trades using our trade analyzer, which balances the lifetime value, which includes pick values out to like 2028. All of that plus the rookie guide, $25 value is included. So if you're just in one Dynasty League, Dynasty Deluxe is well worth it. And use your host's promo code, and you can bump up to All In and get $25 off.
Blue Chips, I'm Matty Kiwoom on Rookie HQ, going through 10 players that you must know heading into the NFL draft season. The next guy that I would like to talk about is, without a doubt, a mountain of a man. I'm talking about the 6'7", 370-pound offensive lineman from the University of Alabama, Mr. Kadyn Proctor. Now, Kadyn Proctor, coming into the NFL, coming into college, was a very, very, very highly rated tackle. Franchise projected cornerstone left tackle. And since he has, he hasn't necessarily been that, but, and he's yet to declare, so he could go back to school. He is underclassman. He's been 3 years in college, so maybe he does decide to go back. But if he doesn't, he will be highly ranked for me as of right now. He's my 3rd offensive tackle and a top 15 player. He has crazy, crazy, crazy upside. And what I do really like about the profile, I'm not going to get into the statistics because it's an offensive lineman, but what we have seen is a clear and gradual progression, a definite clear improvement year over year, culminating in a very good season this past year. One that I truly believe will propel him into the conversation to be a first-round pick if it hasn't already, and then throughout the process, make him a top 10 possibility. The skills are tantalizing. Like I mentioned, he's massive, big, powerful. He's got size, length. He can completely shut down bull rushers, and he can collapse the pocket in contact. Collapse into the pocket to continue the contact, keep the pocket clean for his quarterback. When his hands do get on you, when those paws get on you, he's very overwhelming. I mean, he can overwhelm defenders. He's got crazy grip strength. Obviously, that mass, that strength. He can force rushers to completely abandon their plan. He is a disruptor. When he gets a clean rep off, adios meos. It's scary. He moves a lot better than you would expect, given the size. Athleticism is there, but his technique does allow him to be vulnerable to getting that athleticism neutralized at times. When his balance gets sloppy, when his pad level gets off kilter, he can get taken advantage of. But he's been working on it, and it's clear when you look at him. This guy's gotten a ton of reps in his college career, and you've seen them get better over time. And with this athleticism, this range, I mean, this is a guy who was getting wildcat snaps for the Crimson Tide this year. His athleticism is wild, and I cannot wait to see, first, him declare officially. Second, his athleticism, his testing, his combine, all of that is going to be a sight to behold. And right now, I do have him, like I said, in my top 15. I think he is a stud. I think he's a first-round pick, and I do believe he has the skill set to potentially be the first tackle off the board. He's my number 3 as of right now. I think technically sound. I think when we're talking about just overall prospect, Fanu and Maui Noah are better. But if an NFL team sees this mountain of a human, sees this athlete, and has the right coach to mold that ball of clay into a weapon on the offensive line, yeah, a team could absolutely make him the first tackle off the board. Hell yes. My comp range for him, Cam Robinson to Trent Brown. So Big guy, a lot of athleticism, kind of to holy shite. We have a franchise left tackle. That is absolutely in the range of outcome when it comes to Kadyn Proctor. The next guy, I'm going to talk about the number 5 player on the list that I would like to speak about today is another offensive lineman, and he has yet to declare because he is playing in the national championship game, but he's been in college since 2022. I'm talking about Indiana's Carter Smith, 6'5", 315 pounds. As of right now, I am very high on him, very bullish on this kid, have him as a top 5 offensive lineman, top 50 overall player. He graded out superbly this year. If you do subscribe to, websites like PFF, top 5 offensive grade out of all offensive linemen. And again, I'm not going to get into the statistics when it comes to a player like this because system obviously comes into play, all these things. And the system's very friendly. We're probably going to see the number 1 overall pick come from this system, Fernando Mendoza, Carter Smith, who I right now think could get himself into the back end of round 1, early round 2. Definitely, like I said, a top 50 player, so I definitely could see him in that range. Round 1 might be tough, but I might have been speaking out of my arse for a second there. But like I said, top 50 player, so within, that first round and a half, 2 rounds, definitely coming off the board if he does declare. And as Fernando has said multiple times, he's got the best hogs. He's got the best hogs on land, and part of that is very much because of Carter Smith's ability. He's a technically sound offensive lineman who plays with good posture, solid hand placement, and overall awareness of angles. So you can clearly see he knows what he's doing and how to cut off defenders and kind of keep them from getting to his quarterback. As you would imagine, the Hoosiers have yet another competitive monster because this kid competes. He's a tough blocker, understands leverage, and wins more reps than expected because he's not the elite athlete. I don't know if he has the elite physical tools, but on film, man, this guy wins a lot of matchups. He is a winner when it comes to the trench warfare. I know he's not like an elite athlete, but I do see an athlete who is athletic enough to handle multiple spots across the line. So if he is drafted and the team doesn't necessarily need to have a right tackle, maybe they do move him inside. And I think he'd be very good when it comes inside, outside, doesn't matter, because that versatility, it's good. It's there. It's clear when you watch the film that I think he has the technique and the skills to be versatile, but a team could also look at that as a positionless lineman, maybe like a utility lineman, which could hurt his draft stock. But in this day, this day and age where positions are just getting less, more and more murky, and the ability to use that player in multiple ways is gaining popularity, I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know. But I do see the versatility and the ability to be versatile on the offensive line. He does have limited length. I don't know how his arm length will be, but my man Will Campbell is maybe out there proving that the arm length isn't the end-all, be-all if you have enough skill. He's got a little bit, I don't know how strong he is at the top end when it comes to going against NFL-caliber rushers. And then, the interior guys, if he plays in the interior, I don't know if he's going to be that athlete that can withstand that punishment. But I believe in the technique. I believe in the skill set enough that maybe the development comes also, and that allows him to be a really good offensive lineman at the next level. Now, my comp range, if you're not familiar with offensive linemen, you're probably just going to go who and who. But Dan Feeney to Graham Glasgow. Graham Glasgow, obviously, for the Lions. So a little bit more exciting of a name there. There's a really wide range on a player like this, and to be quite frank, I don't really give a rip to have a big wide range. It's not even the middle of January yet. There's a lot of thought process, research, answers to or questions to be answered. A lot of that is going to unfold here in these next couple of months, so I don't really care that there's a wide range. But for me, as of right now, Carter Smith, Dan Feeney, Graham Glasgow. I think this is a really, really, really good player in the making, someone that will be an asset right away at the NFL level. The next player is a fantasy-relevant one. Offensive player, obviously, if he's fantasy-relevant. I'm not an IDP guy, even though no shade. Love IDP players. Eli Stowers, tight end from Vanderbilt. As of this recording, I have him as my tight end 2 and a top 60 overall player. Mr. Eli Stowers led the nation in receiving yards at tight end, 769. He added 4 touchdowns. He had a yards per route run, 2.55, and an 8.2 air dot. He was used primarily as a slot guy. 66% out of the slot, only 25% of his snaps came in line, which we will get into when we talk about the film. A former quarterback, I said that right. Eli Stowers was recruited as a quarterback. So with that comes, I think, a pretty noticeable feel for space, coverage. He's good at finding soft spots in zone coverage. He knows how to make himself an easy target for a quarterback to throw to, and not only that, a reliable target for a quarterback to throw to, which I think does come out in the film. Like I said, a very, very QB-friendly player. Smooth, fluid mover. He can threaten seams. He definitely can create mismatches, even at the NFL level, especially against linebackers, smaller safeties. If there is not a guy with quickness, with good technique, he will eat them up for dinner. He does bring versatility, not just because he probably could throw a pretty tight spiral, but because he's shown the ability to be tight end, H-back, be effective, whether however he's being used, a real weapon that the NFL is gravitating towards, and more as the years go on, these type of kind of H-back tight end hybrids that can do a whole lot on the offensive side of the ball. But the effectiveness does tend to drop a bit when he's asked to play a lot of snaps in line. So can he withstand the punishment of blocking and then running a route, blocking, running a route, blocking, running a route? That remains to be seen, but not something I'm going to that's going to tank his draft stock. I think there's a lot of college tight ends that kind of have that red flag, orange flag, I would say more, but it's probably closer. His play strength and blocking consistency are the concerns. Like I mentioned, when he's asked to play a lot in line, there is a little bit of an effectiveness drop. Stats do tend to go down quite a bit. So if he can't sustain the blocks at the NFL caliber, when it comes to those rushers, those NFL caliber linebackers, if he can't sustain blocks, it's going to be tough for him to get on the field a whole lot. So, but that doesn't take him away from being an offensive weapon. So my comp range here is very clear. You probably can guess it. I'm going to give you 2 seconds to guess. Jonnu Smith to Evan Ingram. And I know Jonnu Smith, it took some time and he had a couple years, but overall, kind of a bust in terms of what we thought he could be. Evan Ingram, of course, had multiple years, which he was a very, very good tight end. He's at the back 9. Now he's a bit dusty as of right now, but he's been a very good tight end, and he fits both of these profiles. So could he be someone that takes a couple years to be really good? Sure. Definitely see that in the lower range of outcomes, or he could be good in his rookie like Evan was, and then continue to be a real force in an offense for years like Evan Ingram. So we'll see how that plays out. The testing will be there. I hope he makes himself very available throughout the process at the Senior Bowl. I don't believe he's officially accepted his invite. I think Diego Pavia is the only Commodore that has officially accepted his invite. So hopefully he follows his boy Diego and heads down to Mobile. I'd love to see him, and I think he could be a real winner after getting a lot of reps in front of a lot of NFL scouts. That the Senior Bowl that can provide. That's a huge opportunity for these kids, especially a guy like Eli Stowers. Number 7 player I am going to talk about this episode is somebody who was in Heisman consideration. I'm talking about the linebacker from Texas Tech, Jacob Rodriguez. As of right now, he's my linebacker 5. I have him as a top 60 player in my big board rankings. What is going to be the issue with Jacob Rodriguez is the body. How does the frame look? How does it hold up in front of NFL scouts in relativity to his athleticism? 6'1", 235 pounds. But you can't ignore his stats. 94 tackles, a menace all over the place. Not only was he good at making tackles all around the field, he flew around. He really kind of played maybe a bit of a glorified safety type of thing. because he had 4 picks. Maybe that's, kind of like that Derwin James, put him in the box, let him lay the lumber in the middle of the field, close the gaps. I don't know what his role is going to be, and I don't know what his draft capital is going to look like. A lot of that, I think, will depend on the testing, but as of right now, top 60 player, very excited. He has a lot of stats, filled up the stat book, and he's a playmaker, man. I just think early on, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't highly elevate the playmakers. Let the rest of it play out. Should he fall yet? From my initial big board drop to the second, he dropped a bunch of spots. Because the truth is, I think there's a lot of question marks that the NFL will have of this kid and where he'll play at the NFL. But when it comes to playmaking, I mean, there was not many guys in college football that made more plays than Jacob Rodriguez. He's an instinctive, high IQ player, a linebacker that keys and diagnoses quickly. He's consistently beaten blockers to the spot. He's good, very strong anticipation. I think when you're talking about an instinctive, high IQ type linebacker, I think that comes I think it's pretty much a given that he's going to work with anticipation. He's going to be able to get the right angles and make the plays. Obviously, a reliable tackler, 94 tackles, good in space, great with angles, finishes his tackles, isn't afraid to drive players, finish the whole tackle, get them to the ground. He's good at limiting extra yards. You don't see him kind of getting beat often on film. I think he's athletic enough to not only tackle running backs at the next level, but stay with tight ends in zone. But his range does get stressed. I don't know if his speed will be there, so I don't know how well he'll do in the modern-day NFL with all these speedy slot guys. But I think on tape, as of right now, playing on this defense, he is a guy with enough athleticism to not only make the tackles of these speedy type guys, but stick with tight ends. Like I said, does lack that size. Don't know if he has the power that comes with lacking size, which does kind of show up, especially when he's climbing, trying to get to the lineman, trying to get his hands or get the lineman's hands off him. It's a bit challenging when he goes up against a really effective lineman in college, but a guy that has enough, makes enough plays, and if he tests well or improves his size and can come in with a strong BMI, it's weird. It's weird the boxes these kids have to check to maximize their draft stock. But someone like Jacob Rodriguez, those are the type of kids who you find more often than not check a lot of the boxes to get himself drafted as high as possible. My comp range for Mr. Rodriguez as of right now is Alex Singleton to Eric Kendricks. So 2 guys that are in the league. One, took a while for him to get there, went to Canada, did the whole thing, but was able to make, he was a strong enough playmaker, was able to do what he needs to do enough to show NFL scouts that he is a NFL caliber linebacker to someone who's been a mainstay at the position, someone who's been good for many years. So there's a large range of outcomes for Rodriguez, but he does have the playmaking ability. All right, folks, we have 3 names left, so let's get into the number 8 player on the big board. Players you must know: Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety from Toledo. One of the highest graded players in all of college football. Now, I know he did go to Toledo, all right, but he played Kentucky, had a great game against Kentucky, played Louisville, had an okay game against Louisville. So I don't know if the competition's there. So he's definitely going to get hurt a little bit when it comes to that, but he's a big safety, 6'2", over 200 pounds. I got him as safety 3 right now, but a top 60 overall player. Again, it's tough to really talk about stats for the defensive players, especially for a safety that went to Toledo. But what I can tell you about EMW, I don't know if those initials are really going to work. Emmanuel McNeil-Wilson, what I can tell you is dude's an animal. Dude is an animal running around the field. It's clear. He's a physical, downhill safety. He triggers quickly versus run looks and brings real pop on contact. So it's just like a high motor, diagnose it, run, find downhill, crush the running back. Plays with confident eyes, good spatial awareness, stays disciplined in zone. He's pretty good at closing windows. Again, he's really good at diagnosing, triggering quickly, just taking up. Functional athlete. which is just a nice way to say I'm not sure about the athleticism overall. There's a large, range. If he's a better athlete than I see on film, sky's the limit. If he's not, it's going to hurt him. But his change of direction mostly is what can be stressful. He can really be kind of taken advantage of by quick, shifty slot receivers. Man coverage might be a concern for him. Again, in this NFL, we have to be so versatile. That might be an issue. It's easy for those quick receivers to separate. So he can kind of get caught up, kind of playing the recovery game, or even getting penalized for not being able to recover quickly enough. There are concerns there, and of course, with playing at Toledo, there's always going to be the talent concern. Always going to be is he good enough to handle the load? Is he good enough to handle the position? I don't know, but we'll find out. He is going to be down in Mobile for the Senior Bowl, just like Jacob Rodriguez and just like Chris Johnson. These three defenders will be in Mobile, so I'm excited to see them play. My comp range for EMW, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, safety from Toledo. Rodney McLeod. I always forget to say his name. McLeod. I'm terrible with names. Sorry. Rodney McLeod to Jordan Whitehead. Come on, dude. The video's been solid so far. How are you going to stumble over Rodney McLeod to Jordan Whitehead? Come on. That's the comp right there. That's what I got. Number 9 player that I shall talk about here today on the video, the guys you must know as we head into the draft season, is the offensive tackle from Duke, Brian Parker II. As of right now, he is my tackle number 5, so right after Carter Smith, and a top 40 player overall. So, the reason I bring up both Smith and Parker, because I think both of these guys are really good players who had really good seasons in an offensive line class that really is a wide open to see who's going to be the top guys taken. So right now, top 40 player, number 5 tackle on my board, 6'5", 305 pounds. Again, I'm not really going to get into the nitty-gritty of stats because, of course, it's tough with offensive linemen. But just know he held up pretty well against some of the better teams in the ACC. He has officially declared, despite being an underclassman, so that's good to know. He's strong. He's a thick boy, thickly built kid. I do see him being an interior lineman at the next level, but as we've seen, these type of tweeners on the offensive line can still be drafted really, really high. I think Gray Zabel from a year ago. He plays with a really firm anchor, doesn't give up ground versus power rushes, which I think is a very strong attribute to be excited about when we're talking about a guy who's probably going to be in the interior of the line at the NFL. He's got reliable hand placement, good grip strength. It does allow him to control reps, especially if he can attach himself to the defender. He's really tough to shake free of. Again, another guy whose athleticism is up in question, but I do see on film a guy who's athletic enough to pull, work laterally, range, recovery. That can be stressed at times, but I think he has the athleticism, and it's clear on tape that he is able to kind of move around enough laterally to be successful at the NFL level, to be coveted at the NFL level. Overall foot speed and bend are, I would say, average, if I'm being fair. That does limit his margin of error against, the quickness that he'll face at the NFL. But again, these are techniques, these are skill sets that can be improved upon early on and often. So somebody who could catch on early, catch on quick, and become a really dynamic interior lineman pretty early on in his NFL career. My comp range, again, get excited for these comp ranges of tackles, but it's Ben Powers to Kevin Zeitler. Last player, I'm going to talk about the 10th player that you must know heading into the NFL draft season. Listen, folks, we're just a couple of weeks away from the Senior Bowl, and next week I will be hopefully having a guest. If not, I'll do another solo vid, but it will be talking about the players that I am most excited about to see in Mobile. Now, the 10th player is unranked on my big board, but he is someone that I am excited about to see in Mobile. He is going to be down at the Panini Senior Bowl in a couple weeks. So maybe you'll hear more about him next week. But the guy I just wanted to bring up, a player you must know heading into draft season, is Tacario Davis from Washington. Now, if he's not on my big board, if he isn't a highly touted cornerback at this stage, why would he be on my list of players to know? Well, he brings something that you just can't teach when it comes to these NFL prospects. Size. 6'4", north of 200 pounds. He's dealt with injuries. He hasn't been as effective throughout his college career. So will he get drafted? Where will he fall in my rankings? That is TBD. But why I need to talk about this kid is the size. And he does have a season under his belt that was really strong. 2023 for Arizona. He was a very good player. And going into that junior year, there was some buzz that he could be a top cornerback on the board. Those way too early mocks did consist of Tacario Davis. Now, he is kind of disappointed since. But last year, in only the 7 games he played, there was some ups, some downs. But again, you can't teach 6'4". What? You can't teach 200 pounds. What? At the cornerback position. He's big, physical, outside corner, obviously, uses that frame. He can really crowd receivers in his best reps. You will see him disrupt timing at the catch point over and over again. Again, you don't see it consistently, but when you see it, it does pop. He can absolutely be a disruptor at the catch point. Obviously, he's comfortable playing in press coverage, and he's pretty good off man. But I think when you play in man coverage, you play in press coverage, he gets those 6'4", 200-pound paws on you. It's tough. He can be real tough. He does show patience, definitely confidence. He's pretty good at keeping routes in front of him, I would say. On film, you can see that. There's a lot of actual practice reps against Ted McMillan a few years ago that are super eye-opening when it comes to his ability. He does flash the requisite speed to help him recover. He does have good ball skills, but I have to admit his transitions do look a bit tight. And when he's asked to flip and run against, those sudden shifty separators, it can be a bit problematic. Again, there will be red flags in his profile. This is not a perfect guy. This is probably not even a guy I would have in my top 100 currently. He's not in my top 75. But again, if he shows out in Mobile, if he shows out at the Combine, 6'4", 200 pounds. And again, a kid who has been on the radar for NFL draft scouts, not just this year. His change of direction and route anticipation versus the NFL polish, those really good route runners at the NFL level, that is my primary concern. How will the red flags that he has displayed in his college film truly get taken advantage of at the NFL level? Can his size, his abilities, can that mitigate, the best route runners? I don't know. It's a bit of a concern for me. So my comp range for him is wide. Levi Wallace 2. Tariq Woolen. Again, a guy that was taken a little bit later. That was nasty for the Seattle Seahawks. Has kind of maybe fallen off a bit, but that is kind of the trajectory, or at least kind of what I'm thinking when it comes to Tacario Davis. So the 10 players that you must know heading in to the NFL draft season: Ty Simpson, Chris Johnson, Denzel Boston, Kadyn Proctor, Carter Smith, Eli Stowers, Jacob Rodriguez, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, Brian Parker II, and my guy Tacario Davis. Not to mention, just what a sick name, Tacario Davis. And that's it. That's going to be today's episode of Blue Chips. Again, I am your host, the authentic one, Mr. Matty Kiwoom. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning in, tapping in here at Rookie HQ, presented by Player Profiler. Make sure you're subscribed to the Rookie HQ channel. Let's get those subscriptions up. Make sure you're liking this video and leave a comment. Who's the player that I must know heading in to the NFL draft season? Who do you think that I need to make sure that I look at carefully? Who might be a guy who isn't being talked about that I should be getting to know real soon? Again, Blue Chips, where you come to hear about all things NFL prospects. And until next week, I will catch you on the flip side.